Hello all. I saw a comment and I've heard from other people that they're curious about the spirit work that I do with children. I'm going to try to get into a little bit of that today. I work with my wife in doing this, and we have been doing so off and on for about the last 10 years or so. It all started with the spirit of a little boy named Connor that I brought home with me from the Red Oak Cemetery. I go over that whole adventure in my first video, and it's been a pretty interesting ride so far. My wife works in one of the largest cemeteries in the area. She works in a funeral home right in the middle of a cemetery with about 100,000 interments all told across three different cemeteries that make up this complex. So, of course, there's going to be a lot of spirits kind of roaming around and just kind of there. Apparently, word traveled through the world of spirit that we were helping other spirits kind of come to terms with what had happened and kind of protecting them from other things. But a couple of children showed up and started hanging around Mary at work, and they asked if we could help them. So, being a parent, we said yes. Like, I do not have any biological children, but I do have a couple of stepkids. And I just kind of have it in me in general to take as good a care of children as I can, human or spirit. And so they come home and then they get really shy because I guess I just cut an intimidating presence. But eventually I get them to warm up to us and we start interacting with them. Mary can channel really well, and at times I have periods where I can't hear a damn thing, like from spirit, but I can kind of feel or intuit what's going on. I They can kind of hide in a shadow or in the corner, so to speak, and I would just go over and kind of interact with them, get them to calm down, and help them start to feel safe. On this initial interaction back at the house, we get them to calm down, let them feel like they're safe, and let them know that they now have a space to do some kid things like run around, make some noise, climb a tree if they can, which, in my opinion, spirits can just do if they wanted. And we learned very quickly that several of the kids like bubbles. So we would pull them out and play with them for a while, let them chase them. And even as blocked up as I've been at times, you could just kind of hear childlike giggles coming as they interacted with them. They like petting on the animals. Like, you'll see the dog or the cats react to something that isn't necessarily there. And that's just part of what we do. That's the easy part. But we also get to the point where we can get them to open up about what happened to them, what led to their passing. And in general, we know that there's a few different ways that the end of life happens. There's natural causes, which we know. Then there's illness and sickness, accident, and then maliciousness, murder, just a random attack, and just things of chance. And we've interacted with children's spirits that have had to deal with all of those. across the time. So a lot of the stories are really sad and kind of give you pause, especially when you can just feel the pain and fear in them. It makes you stop. It knocks the breath out of you. But helping them process what happened and helping them come through and kind of accept what happened, it frees them. We let them go, we help them through this process, but we also encourage them to have fun. And when they feel like they're ready to go on, we will light some candles, create some safe space for them, and open that doorway between this room and the next. I believe that when we die, we are meant to go on to what's next. And that if we stay, there's some kind of trauma or work undone. So when we can help them, we're going to help them. With the spirit of children, you can't be quite as harsh as you can be with an adult. You have to be gentle and work with them. I mean, if you have somebody show up and they're being an absolute asshole, you can just be like, straight up, step stop what you're doing, or we'll send you out of here real quick. With a kid, it's more care and tenderness. They always come to you shy and scared, fearful and hurt. And you just kind of got to devote time to it. You got to realize that they're still a child. And we try to give them space to do that. A lot of the time, they would like riding the trains as Mary would be going home from work. Or, in my case, coming with me to the NASCAR races. I love all forms of motorsport. If I could, I'd go to a race every few weeks. Across all different types. We would go to the NASCAR race at Kentucky. And the kids would get in the cars and ride with the drivers for a while. And a lot of them, especially the boys, fast car, go vroom. You know how they are. And we'd hear about their adventures on the day at the race. They would come down with us just kind of in the back of the car or back of the truck. And it would be a highlight for them because they could kind of do whatever. Probably the saddest story that I have is of a little boy that died in the back of his mother's car. He was in his car seat playing with his toy dinosaur in a truck, making roaring noises because the little boy and his dinosaur, it's just that sheer enjoyment and happiness of being a kid. His mother was in the front singing and kind of watching him in the mirror every once in a while like you do. And a truck comes into their lane and hits them head on. The little boy didn't make it. But after his death, he didn't go on. Like, he lingered, he watched. He was worried about his mother. He told me that he remembered seeing her laying on the road and one of the EMTs put a blanket over her. That's never, ever a good sign. It means that person didn't make it. He was asking immediately if I knew what happened to his mother, if she was okay, if she made it. And at the time, I couldn't bring myself to tell him. So I told him that I would find out and let him know when I heard something. And we would check in with the spirits quite often. It wouldn't necessarily be a daily thing, but we could kind of tell when they had something on their mind or we needed to work with them a little more. But I'd finally gotten up the courage to tell this little boy that his mother didn't make it. Telling him that sucked, but it needed to be done. I owed him that. So we tell him, and he reacts to it. He sad, crying, and we comfort him and help him start to process. A few weeks pass, and he's finally ready. We set the space, we open the space for him, and somebody comes through to get him. It was his mother. She just smiled at us, thanked us for helping her little boy, took his hand, and walked back through. A lot of you are going to ask why we would work with spirits without, just random and completely accepting of them. We have allies and a team like Morrigan. Hecate has a dominion over this because she's a goddess of the dead. My familial spirits, my spirit guides, her spirit guides wouldn't let anything through on the long term that was malicious without telling us about it or warning us, and they've never warned on any of these spirits. We haven't done anything like this in a couple of years now, but if a child's spirit or a spirit kid, or as we call them, an SK, showed up tomorrow, lost, confused, in need of a hug and some space, we would provide it for them. We would give them their time, give them, and it seems to be tradition with us that they kind of adopt one of the stuffed animals we have around the house. One of the little girl spirits we had claimed one of the sock monkeys. He sits out on the bookshelf in the living room now. But if they come through looking for help, we'll be here to give it to them. When you do something like that, word goes out through the ether, and you get known. And if we're called upon to help in that manner again, we will. If you have any questions going forward, don't hesitate to let me know and ask in the comments or find me in one of the Discords or YouTube lives. I know it's a bad transition, but this book right here is documentation of a lot of the work that we've done. The story of most of the SKs we've worked with is in those pages. If you have any questions, just don't be afraid to ask. Check out the YouTube channel of my friend Starlight Spellsinger. She just posted her first open circle interview with the amazing Alondra Nightingale. Go check them out and have a great rest of your day and an amazing week ahead. If you feel a call from something, don't be afraid to answer. Be cautious. Be wise. Know you are strong.